Incredibly, Brawl Stars has been around for almost 8 years now, and in those 8 years we have seen a lot of changes for the better and for the worse. The meta is constantly switching because Supercell decides to overpower brawlers, then nerf them and repeat, season after season, year after year. Most of the brawlers on this list tend to see their most broken state after initial release or first buffs, and then Supercell has to nerf them as time goes on. It's annoying the usual meta surrounds the newly released or recent because it kinda strands the older brawlers where they sit, but so be it. Like, give me a Shelly meta like the old days, please. Okay, let's hop into the video because we're going to cover not just the recent metas, but the most broken brawlers ever to date. Number 1, OG Shelly. As I already mentioned, the first person on this list needs no introduction, Shelly. The original Shelly was an absolute demon in any game mode. Her range, reload speed, and super were unmatched. She was the first person to walk that line between a tank killer and a mid-range competitor. I don't think you understand how powerful Shelly would be with an extra tile. Yes, an extra tile of range. Because that's how serious the nerf was, a whole tile's worth. And with that also came a longer reload speed. If only I could have been playing at launch, how I would abuse this oversight. Number 2, Piper. Also in 2017, we had the addition of everyone's most loved princess, Piper. Piper had super strong damage and little to no counters after she was first released. Her next 4 changes were all nerfs, which says something. Supercell absolutely stole her away from the spotlight, but unlike most of the brawlers on this list, Piper remains to be an absolute assassin despite her elegant nature. Number 3, Daryl. I feel like many of you might not know about this one, but the original Daryl had a super roll range of 23 tiles. This isn't a typo, he actually had a super roll range of 23 tiles. I don't know if you could comprehend what this would mean for almost every game mode or strategy, but Daryl would be the meta. Seriously, you can basically teleport wherever you want. El Primo's super range is 9 tiles for a comparison, so do with that what you will. I can only imagine the amount of rolling barrels there would be if this ever came back. Supercell should just gear up and give his super 23 tile range for Daryl's birthday. Wouldn't that be a treat? Number 4, Rosa. After her launch, Rosa was the most overpowered and broken character Brawl Stars may have ever seen. With her shield, Rosa could reduce damage by 85% for 5 seconds, and as you might already know, this means she could just stand and eat any damage for 5 seconds. Pretty much, you could just super cycle with Rosa. Rosa, who is a tank? I was browsing the good old Brawl Stars Reddit forums and found a rage post from years ago. Let me just say the post transitioned from normal text to italics all caps, and finally italics all caps and bolded. Supercell couldn't even bring this one back as a joke. It just wouldn't provide any benefit for players both emotionally and possibly physically. Number 5, 8-bit. Maybe you have, or maybe you haven't heard about Afterlife, but let me tell you, it was broken. Afterlife, as you would expect, gave another life to a character in Brawl Stars. This star power doesn't really need an explanation. After you die, you respawn with one of the respawn bubbles, and then you're alive again. If you didn't already know, this star power was for 8-bit, and it made him unstoppable in solo showdown. While everyone has 1 life, 8-bit has 2. How fun is that? Of course they had to take it away. You know how fast the Brawl Stars community likes to abuse and torment players with the current metas. Number 6, Leon. At one time, Leon was that guy. I mean, his super had no indicator or revealing indicator for enemies when he was in close proximity. Now they get alerted and such within 4 tiles, but back then there was nothing for a time. The little lizard wannabe could stroll right up into your kitchen undetected and bake you death by shuriken every single time. If only I could sneak up behind Rico and Buzz Lightyear fully invisible and stalk them until I feel ready to kill them. Oh, how I dream. Number 7, B. B used to have this super, Honeycoat, that would throw her down to 1 HP, but bubble and eliminate any chance of her dying. Pending you could get behind some cover or kill the enemy first, it was pretty much the same as 8-bit's Afterlife. You would use it when you get caught in a sticky situation and have no choice but to stand your ground and fight it out, and it worked. B works on the chance you hit that charged shot, and when you have to fight close quarters, you're not gonna miss. The point is, it was broken and overpowered just like 8-bit's Afterlife. Number 8, Intermission. You know what I've noticed while making this video that I never thought about? So many of the characters in Brawl Stars are just wannabes and not really the real thing. B, Leon, Nita, Rosa, they're all fakes. I think the only real ones out there are Spike and Poco. Even Frank and Mortis, are you really Frankenstein and a vampire? Bee wants to be a bee. Leon wishes he was a lizard. Nita, you are not a bear. I'm sorry. Despite how many times you throw your hands up like claws. And Rosa is just pretending to be Spike's mom. It's just funny Supercell rotates from Nita dressing up as a bear to 8-Bit being an actual arcade game that can operate a gun. It's like Brawl Stars is in this alternate universe. Before we jump into the next god-awful broken character, little hint, he's from a movie. Make sure to subscribe to our channel, we're coming out with tons of Brawl Stars content, and you won't want to miss any of it. Number 9, Buzz Lightyear. At number 9 on our list, we have the current and not amusing Buzz Lightyear. The first 6 days of this guy being released was the worst time of my life on the game. I can't stand him so much now, even with his nerf. After adding him, Buzz Lightyear had the Saber mode, which was so overpowered they nerfed the amount of hits to get your super and decreased his HP. The mode was like Kenji on crack, just slashing around the map, killing whoever he wanted. Don't even get me started on wing mode, please. It should be enough to say, it only took 6 days before the nerf after his release to know that Buzz was actually broken when he was launched into Brawl Stars. Number 10, Amber. When Amber was released, she was absolutely broken. Like I said, you know a brawler's broken when they join the Supercell cycle off launch and instant nerf. Amber was no exception to this. With so many nerfs 6 days after her release, and then even more nerfs only 2 weeks later, she was an absolute tank destroyer. After she was brought to the game, our little arsonist did not hold back. Her damage was insanely high, and she was kind of a fast brawler, making her able to maneuver around and shred anyone. Number 11, Stu. To be honest, I don't really know what Stu is. Is he a human or a robot? I can't figure it out. What I do know is he was very powerful against tanks or slow-to-shoot brawlers when his super had a knockback at the end. Considering it only takes 1 hit to charge it, you could imagine the abuse that transpired. You could take a character like Frank and make them leave the game. Seriously, he wouldn't be able to throw that hammer down 1 time if you kept cycling him with your super. It was just too overpowered in certain situations and against certain characters, so they had to nerf it. Rightfully. Number 12, Janet. There's something about Janet that makes me mad. Every time she's flying in the sky, all high and mighty, I still shoot at her, thinking it's going to do something as she bombards me with bombs. The fact that she takes no damage in her super frustrates me, and gives her a huge edge in a lot of situations. Not only can her super be used to attack, but to escape, and escape far. Janet was pretty powerful after her launch, but I think it took a little longer than some of the other brawlers for people to realize how broken she was. Eventually she got her nerfs, but only after considerable rage had been spent at my expense. Number 13, Brock. 2021 saw the comeback of an OG, Brock. Brock got a decent buff where his main attack was increased from just over 1,000 to 1,300, and his supercharge rate was increased by 17%. This enormous increase was nerfed by Supercell 6 days later, and begs the question, why do it at all? And why is it always 6 days? It seems like Supercell has a code where they must wait 6 days to roll out a nerf. They really just want to make sure I get angered enough to break my phone before they say, that'll do it, let's nerf him. Number 14, Colt. When Colt's Silver Bullet gadget was released, it did the damage of 6 bullets, and let's just say it should have been considerable to a star power. There was nothing you could really do to stop him from coming right up to you and killing you, tank or not. The damage was just too much. They eventually reduced the damage equivalent from 6 bullets to 2. Good one, Supercell. Next time, don't wait 2 weeks. Number 15, Buster. Last but not least, we have Buster, who was so overpowered after his launch they gave him 3 consecutive nerfs. Buster's super used to last for 6 seconds, drawing in and eliminating damage and spitting it back at the enemies. In the beginning, no one really knew what it did, and people were literally k***ing themselves while Buster had his shield out. They had to decrease a ton of his stats and half his super duration to 3 seconds. It was that OP. Apparently his gun is a movie projector, which makes no sense, but hey, beats me. Some of the characters in this list have some awful traits I think the community wishes Supercell would get rid of. If you want to hear more about those stereotypes, make sure to check out our video on the worst brawler stereotypes, and see where the brawlers in this list rank on our tier list.